Hi everyone. In this episode, we have something very serious to discuss with you.
We got a new project vehicle! Introducing our latest Overland build,
The Wonderbug.
We'll be taking you along as we prepare this baby for vehicle-based adventure travel or overlanding. No, seriously, this is going to be a budget build.
No, it's not.
I see you use mostly 20s there. We're going to need those.
So be sure to subscribe and follow along.
Now don't worry folks, we are not giving up on the Toyotas. We're going to be doing a lot of upgrades and repairs on them in the very near future.
In fact, we'll be trading in one of them for a new 2024 Land Cruiser or 4Runner. So nothing's actually going to change. This is just in addition to what we've been doing. And now the Wonderbug.
Yeah, this is not going to be a SEMA build or an Instagram build. Those builds typically have kind of a short lifespan. They're really flashy on social media for a few months, then they attend an expo or SEMA or something, and then you never see them again. This is going to be a long haul for us. This is going to take some time.
What, no deadline? This doesn't have to be completely done in 5 days?
This is not a TV show, but it does have to be done by next spring, early spring. We're going to be taking a much more common sense approach to our build. It has to be super reliable, durable. We don't want any mishaps when we're out on the road with it. And we're going to take it places. We're going to take it to a lot of places.
So you may be asking, why an old VW Beetle?
That's a darn good question.
And why? Because it's cool as hell.
It is cool. This thing is a 1960, so it's 63 years old. It's 3 years older than I am. This has a special place in my heart. When I was young, early 20s, there was a guy in our hometown that drove around an orange Baja Bug with the Stinger exhaust, and I thought that was the coolest vehicle I've ever seen. But things got in the way. I got into muscle cars, and then I got into trouble with muscle cars, and then I got into stock car racing, and then
you got into trouble with girls.
Yeah, then I got in trouble with girls, and vehicles kind of took a wayside for a long time. But now, 40 years later, I've got one, and it's the same color as Scott's. Scott, by the way, you may recognize his name. His name is Scott Taylor, and he went on from the humble Baja Bug days of his to becoming one of the premier off-road racers in the country. He's won championships and everything, and he still lives here in our hometown. Yeah, he's going to be giving us advice on building an engine, transmission, setting up the suspension, all that stuff.
The 4Runner and the FJ are super reliable, a lot of fun, great off-road vehicles, but we really needed a challenge.
A little backstory on us. We were heavily into wilderness canoe camping, where we would go into the wilds of Canada usually, or the West.
Dropped off by a float plane.
Yeah, we'd
out
fly
in the middle of
in,
nowhere.
they'd drop us off, and then we'd find our way out, usually with paper maps. That was before GPS, even before satellite phones. We would carry all our gear with us in the canoe, usually freeze-dried meals to save weight, and we didn't have any kind of refrigeration with us, so we lived very, very basic and primitive when we were on those trips. And yeah, we got into the overlanding thing, and all of a sudden we have a refrigerator, we have a 2-burner stove, a bigger tent, actual
luxuries,
yeah, nice comfortable bedding.
And this kind of takes us back to a minimalist way of life.
Yeah, we won't have a lot of room to carry stuff, and we have to keep everything super light and compact. So we'll be using a lot of our old gear, our old canoeing, camping gear, and backpacking gear when we're traveling with this one. Yeah, with the Bug, it is a very, very primitive vehicle, a very primitive suspension, engine, electronics. There are no electronics. There's just a few lights on it.
It's going to be so much easier to fix if something goes wrong, don't you think?
Yes, yeah. I don't know, now bear with us, I don't know a whole lot about air-cooled Volkswagens, but I'm learning a lot, especially here since we got it. And I have an owner's manual. That's helping a lot. Yeah, there's no ABS brakes. There's no traction control. There's no power steering.
There's no air conditioning.
There is no air conditioning.
There's no cushion in the seat.
There's very little cushion in the seat. There's no sound deadener.
Oh gosh, no.
Because the interior is all stripped out of this. There's no carpeting, no interior panels or anything, just a couple of bucket seats.
There's also no rust.
There is no rust on this thing. Somebody had taken very good care of it most of his life. There is some body work that I noticed on it, but it was done by a professional and done right. So we are starting out with a really solid platform. The underside, no rust. Somebody had replaced the pan at one time in the floorboards. But yeah, it's all new, an all new electrical system in it.
So this isn't one of our usual spontaneous purchases. We've actually been thinking about this for about 6 months now.
Yeah,
and looking around.
Yeah, and we agreed upon it before.
We did.
Before we even started looking. This one we actually found right close to our house, about 15-minute drive from here. Found it on Marketplace. We went to look at it, saw that it was orange, and that was the clincher right there. I told Mary, hey, be prepared to buy this thing today. And we did. Called the tow truck to come and get it because it wasn't actually running. The shifter linkage was not installed in it. And we didn't hear it running, but we did turn it over. The brakes did not work. There was new shifter linkage that came with the car. We got all these big cardboard boxes and that with spare parts and old parts they took off. But yeah, had to put the shifter linkage in and adjust the shifter. Had to do some work on the brakes. The brakes, somebody, a couple owners prior, put a disc brake conversion on the front, which is awesome, and a dual master cylinder, which is much safer than the old style. The rear brakes, there's plenty of pad. They're original drum brakes in the back, plenty of pad, but they weren't adjusted up worth a damn. So adjusted, I had to work on the plunger from the pedal to the master. The plunger that went in was not quite right, so I had to basically make my own for that. And now the brakes work really good. Bled them. Yeah, now they work good. They actually stopped. The first time I drove it, it did not stop. And so we brought it right back to the garage.
You had it running that first day.
Yeah.
You got it back together. You were so excited.
Yeah, I was. So I had to go drive it, and I didn't check the brakes first, which I regret doing that because it could have ended badly, but it didn't. We're fine. When we bought it, it didn't have, like I said, it had an original style hood on it, painted black, no fenders, no bumpers on the front or back. We actually had to go on Marketplace again, and I found a Baja kit, fenders, hood, back in this piece up here. It's about 2 hours north of us. Never been on a vehicle before, so it was still in really good shape. Bought it cheap, and now it's on here. And then I found the bumpers on Marketplace, about 2 hour drive that way. So I went and got that.
At someone's farm.
Somebody's
covered
farm.
in lichen and rust.
Yeah, they would look pretty bad when I got it, but they were straight. So brought them home, sandblasted them, painted them black. They turned out really good. Now they're on there. Yeah, when I first started up, it ran okay. It started
It was
great.
so freaking loud.
Again, it was really loud.
Really loud.
I put a muffler on the back. I don't know if you noticed that, but before that, there was no muffler, and it was really loud. The neighbors must have really loved those first few days.
They love us anyway.
But yeah, it didn't run really good though. So I have a guy in our neighboring town here that is a air-cooled Volkswagen expert. He's been doing it for 40 years. And yeah, he tuned it up really nice. Now it runs really good. With this build, like most of our builds, we're doing it in stages. We're already done with stage 1, which was to make it road legal, as far as I know it is, and to make it pretty safe somewhat. We put lights on it, marker lights, headlights. Headlights are not aimed properly yet. The hood is secured with these old style hood pins. I did do some work on the wipers. It didn't have any wiper blades on it when we got it. We found those at a swap meet. Now we did have to put some new tires on the front. These are stock size on a stock rim. They don't handle all that well. We'll be talking about that in a minute. We did put side mirrors on. It had the rear view mirror when we got it. It did not have side mirrors. Found these on Amazon. Thought they looked pretty cool. You can't really see out of this one very well in the driver's seat. The other one, yeah, you can see everything in that one, but this one is kind of hidden, but we don't need mirrors. And also, it has the earliest form of air conditioning on this car, the vent windows. I wish all cars still had these. These are awesome. You turn it this way, and man, you get 50, 55 mile an hour breeze on you. They're awesome. All the rubbers up here in the door are trashed, all dry rotted. It looks like it might have been a car from the Southwest, the way the rubbers look. Now back here on the windows, this is all new, and the windows have been tinted, which is kind of cool. Side windows are not tinted, so it's legal. Now, towards the back of the vehicle, it did come with these awesome old retro kind of roadster taillights, which we're saving. Those are really cool. These are the wheels and tires that came on it. They're very old. The tires are in pretty decent shape. There's plenty of tread. They are decades old. The rims, when we first got it, the rims were total rust. I took a abrasive wheel to it and cleaned them up. They're nothing, fancy or anything. It's just a hint of chrome there now. But the rims are so beat up that there's no way that our tire place would ever balance them for us. Same way with the fronts, with those wide 5 rims, the original rims, tire place doesn't have a way to balance or to put those on a balancing machine, so those are totally unbalanced too. We'll have to address that situation at some point. Here's that muffler that we mentioned earlier. This quiets it down quite a bit. It's got a nice mellow sound to it. I just put this on, this like tractor cap. This will keep the rain out. I don't know if I'll keep it or not because I'm afraid that it might bang like that. If it does, it's out. I'll just get a coffee can and put over it when it's sitting still in the rain. As you can see, the engine has a chrome treatment kit to it. So originally the engine came with a generator. It's been converted to 12 volt with an alternator. We actually put this alternator on just recently. This is an upgraded 90 or 95 amp. We wanted to make sure that we had plenty of power for charging batteries, the car battery and camera batteries, possibly running a fridge at some point. The ignition originally was points and condenser. It's been converted to electronic, which is awesome. It's got a new carburetor on it, new coil, new sending units. I just put this crank pulley on because the one that was on there was vibrating terribly. It's got this cool Stinger exhaust system on there. It has some usage, some miles on it. Recently, I had the intake manifold off, and I was able to shine a flashlight down into the intake ports. And after sitting a few days, it got a little puddle of oil actually in the intake ports, both sides. So that tells me that oil is passing through past the valve stems. So whatever seals are on them are obviously shot. It does burn oil in other places, and it leaks oil. So the biggest leaks were on the valve covers. I fixed that, but it does leak oil quite a bit. So that has to be addressed. The transmission or transaxle, whatever they call it, that is been in here for a long time. I don't know if it's the original to the car or what, but it's really rusty and crusty, and it too leaks out of just about every seal that's on it. So that's gonna have to be taken care of too. Now, as far as the rear brakes go, there is no emergency brake lever inside for some reason. It appears as though the cables are still there, but we're gonna have to fix that right away. The lever has been on back order for about a week or so. We should be getting that soon. When we do, I've got a complete new or slightly used set of brakes for the back here. We're gonna keep the drums for now because it does cost a good amount of money to do a disc brake conversion. As far as the interior, you can see that the original dash is gone, which, I mean, it's a lot easier to do a dash like this with gauges and switches and everything than the original, but I would kind of like that original dash look, but is what it is. It does have the original speedometer right here, but we have other gauges. We've got oil pressure, oil temperature, voltage. Here's a fuel gauge. This car never came with a fuel gauge, and I've been looking around and I don't think we're going to be able to put a fuel gauge in it. What they did was they have the tank up front, and as the car seemed like it was running out of gas, there was a little lever, I think it was down here, that the driver would pull or turn or something, and that would let another reservoir tank let gas in, which was maybe a gallon or so, just enough to get to the gas station. So that's how they dealt with running out of gas back then. It does have a vacuum gauge aftermarket on here. We don't need that at all. Has a different steering wheel. This is a quick shifter, a shorter throw than the old one. The old one was way up here, and I mean, you were just throwing it all over the place. This is a lot nicer, and it does have the reverse lockout right here. Pedals, I put this foot pedal in here. I don't know if I'll keep it or not because it kind of gets in the way of the brake pedal, which is not good. A headlight dimmer switch on the floor. But yeah, you can see all the carpet, floor mats, everything has been taken out. So that pretty much sums up what we've done to it so far. Now let's talk about what the future holds for the Wonderbug.
So where do we plan on driving this thing?
Well, and that is going to determine, you know, where we drive this thing is going to determine what modifications we're going to do to this thing and how we need to prepare it for where we're going to be driving.
So I'm thinking BLM land, old forest roads.
Yeah, this is two-wheel drive, remember. This is not a rock crawler, okay?
No.
We can make it up ledges maybe this high or so, but in little rocks.
That's why we have our Toyotas.
Yeah, that's why we have our Toyotas for that.
But I'm thinking little towns where the interstates have bypassed.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to do that because I am not taking this thing out on the interstates.
The world's largest yarn ball or ball of twine.
Yeah, all those little towns, you know, the interstates, when they put those in, all these little towns that were something back in the day when people traveled through them, but now they're kind of lost and because nobody even knows they're there anymore. So it'd be cool to drive through all these old towns.
Yeah, we'll be scaring some cows with that exhaust.
Probably cats, dogs. So here is our board that we usually have hanging on the wall over there by the furnace. This is pretty much what we're going to be tackling in the different stages. Like I said before, stage 1 is already done. Now we're up to stage 2.
And part of stage 2 is already finished.
Yeah, I did the alternator, crank pulley. So we have to replace the king and link pins in the front because the front end is really loose on this thing.
Did you already order those?
I have them, and I actually have them in my hand. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have my expert Volkswagen mechanic do that because there's shims involved, and yeah, I don't want to do that. Handbrake and cables, I got the cables already. The handbrake is coming. I think I saw it's showing up on Tuesday.
That means that it might be here by Saturday.
That's if the U.S. Postal Service delivers it.
You could aim the headlights today.
I could. Well, I have to turn them. But yeah, we could do that today. And then we're on to stage 3, which is a lot of little things really. We need sun visors, which we just have to buy them and they just screw in. I need a roll bar. Not necessarily for rolling over or that. Let's hope that never happens. But right now, the car never came with seat belts in 1960. So we had to, that's another thing that we did in stage one, was we installed some seat belts, but it's just a lap belt. We had to make brackets for the floor, all that stuff. I do want a shoulder strap. So, and there's no way to mount a shoulder strap on the body inside. So I need a roll bar so I can weld a bracket onto it that will hold the shoulder strap. It's just going to be a 4-point roll cage. Yeah. Anyways.
Roof rack. We definitely need a roof rack.
We need a roof rack, not necessarily because we're going to be hauling a lot of gear up there, because I think we have plenty of room in the back and up in the front.
But we need a place for the spare tire.
We have to have a place for the spare tire. Usually, originally the spare tire rode in the very, very front of this thing, but the front, as you see, is gone now. It's chopped off. So we're going to have to put the spare on the top, which gets me to down here, wheels and tires and spare tire.
Well, we bought tires for the front.
For the front, but we're not going to keep them. That was just to make it safe for us to drive for right now and have fun with it for now. They were cheap, remember? I didn't spend a lot on them. But yeah, I want the same height tire. That way we can, but they're going to be different width. The rears are going to be wider than the front, but they're going to be the same height. And when we first got this thing, I was thinking we were going to jack it way up, throw on 33s, and all that. But I've since common sense took over, and I realized that would be a real stupid thing to do, because this is going to be a drivable, reliable car that's going to take us places. It's not going to be an Instagram or SEMA build. So going radical like that is not practical. We're not going to do that. So we're going to stick to 30-inch tall tires, which that's what the backs are right now, and that's a nice size.
Yeah.
So front and back will be 30s. We will need to get different rims, because the front stock rims are only about this wide, and they would never hold a tire, probably this wide. So we'll need new rims.
And that's why we do things in stages, because budget.
Because money. But yeah, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Right now we have that classic old Volkswagen wide 5 bolt pattern, which is, like I said before, they can't balance the fronts like that because it's got that stock rim. And it would be, if something were to go wrong on the road someplace out in the middle of nowhere, it would be hard to find a rim like that. So I'm thinking they do make a conversion kit to convert the hubs to a 5-bolt pattern. I think it's a Chevy 5-bolt pattern. So there's that. We'll have to think about that in the coming couple of months. Yeah, mud trains in the back, like our Coopers that we have on the FJ. Some all-terrains in the front, maybe. I don't know, yeah.
We'll think about it.
We'll think about it. Well, next, paint body all orange. Right now, the gray fenders and hood, that's just the gel coat on the fiberglass.
You don't want black?
No, I thought about black, but I think that all orange with maybe some graphics on the side. We'll think about it. Maybe we'll paint these black, do a rattle can paint job on them, and see what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then go from there. Anyways, yeah, that'll be down the road. I want to get everything else done before we touch the paint because, well, it's going to get scratched up anyways. But anyways, and that's going to be an expense. Side Nerf bars for that.
Those will be cool, and they'll help me get in and out because it's such a big step up.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. We do need floor mats. I don't want to.
I want rubber.
Yeah, I just want
like a rubber
that we can pull out and rinse off. I don't want carpet because it's just going to get muddy and dirty and nasty. Interior door panels, like you said earlier, that will give it a nice finished look, and they're cheap enough.
And it'll deaden the sound.
And deaden some sound, yeah. What else we got? The dash, I want to rework the dash. We need some decent knobs, some different gauges. I might put a cylinder head gauge in instead of that vacuum gauge. And anyways, warning lights, we need that on the dash for oil pressure and oil temp. It doesn't have any warning lights. It has the gauges, which is great, but I like warning lights because sometimes I don't look at gauges. Because driving the FJ and 4Runner, you know, I mean, it'll let you know way ahead of time. But this is much more of a visceral type of driving experience.
Now, even though it won't be retro, I kind of think we need a phone holder for our cell phone.
Yeah, that's on here.
Okay.
Phone holder.
Hands-free, you know.
Because we'll probably use Gaia. We're going to use paper maps as much as we can. But we'll have Gaia as a backup.
It's nice to have that backup.
And with that, we'll need USB ports on the dash. So, yeah, that's where we are in stage 3. Now, stage 4 is something that we need to start thinking about right away.
Start budgeting for, because that's a lot.
Yeah, like I said earlier, the engine is tired, and it's just a 1500. We need some horsepower to haul gear and to get up hills. Because, you know, Volkswagen is not, no, this thing right here has maybe 40, 45 horsepower.
What do you think, guys? Do you think we need a bigger engine?
Durr. Yeah, I'd like to get up to around 70, maybe 80 horse in the back. To do that, the best way to do that is displacement. Get a bigger displacement, bigger cc or cubic inch engine. Same size, it'll bolt right in there. It's just you change out the jugs, get bigger diameter pistons, maybe a longer stroke, but with a longer stroke, then you're talking money with different crank and all that stuff. But we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I'd like to get up to like an 1800 cc, maybe, with dual port, of course, dual port heads. This has the single port, which is not ideal at all. That's why it doesn't make a whole lot of horsepower. But the dual port 2-barrel Weber carburetor on it, that will, oh man, that'll breathe good. Yeah, and a camshaft, a mild one, nothing too crazy. I want it to still idle really well and to travel in traffic good. So not a big camshaft, but I think we can, open up them valves a little bit more, get more air and fuel in there. Because an engine is just a big ass air pump. The more you push through, more air and fuel you can get through it, yeah, that's what we're looking for. And yeah, the transmission, we definitely need to have either this one rebuilt completely or have a different one rebuilt. I don't know what we're going to do yet. We're going to talk with our experts about gearing in it. I would like to have a lower first and second gear. So when we are crawling around on rocky roads and that, we'll have a low gear in it, a really low gear in it. But I still want a high enough gear in third and fourth to get up to 60, 65 miles an hour.
How can you get lower than one first? Huh? How do you get lower than first? Is it a negative?
Okay, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. A limited slip. Or a limited slip differential, a positive traction, because being two-wheel drive, we need both of those wheels to drive. Right now with it, it's just basically a one-wheel drive. And then we'll have to figure out the final gearing, that ring and pinion gearing. And again, I'll consult with probably Scott Taylor on that. We talked lengthy already about gearing, and he really knows his numbers. So we'll talk about that, and that'll get us all done. Yeah, this is nothing.
We're never done.
This will be a breeze. Couple weeks, we're there.
So what about future episodes? What do we have in mind?
Well, our next episode for sure, and we're going to get that out right away, is we're going to take you for a ride in this thing. We're going to set the cameras up and we're going to take you for a ride and try to give you a good feeling of the experience driving this thing. It's a lot different than what we're used to, and I think you'll have a lot of fun with that. And periodically through the build, we'll be doing some progress reports telling you what we've been doing to it. And I'm sure along the way we're gonna have some problems, some mishaps. We always
bloopers.
do. Yeah, that the things are just not going right with the build, not as planned. So we'll be showing you that
The down and dirty.
The down and dirty of building a wonderbug. And we'll be talking about, you know, the parts we're using and why we chose them.
Why we chose them.
Yeah, why we chose them, and you know, what we expect out of them, stuff like that.
And if our expectations are met, or
Yeah.
yeah, or if we would do something different, yeah.
And after we get all the mechanicals done on this thing, then we're going to start to outfit it, to haul our gear, and so we can live out of this thing, and we'll
not live out of
well,
it.
maybe not live out of it. You know what I'm saying? Live for a week or so out of it, or 2 weeks or 3. But we'll take you along on that and show you what we come up with.
So if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. And if you want to see more, subscribe to our channel, please.
And follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching.